So, what is realization? So, when we think about realization, we assume perceiving something, correct? Or understanding something. Oh, for example, Newton, when he discovered gravity, he realized that physical phenomena are called gravity, correct? So, but gravity did exist before Newton discovering it, correct? So, realization is also something like that, it is already there. So, there is no, again, when we talk about, oh, I am in search of God, when we say meditation is about knowing yourself, realizing yourself, we hear all these jargons. So, realizing the self is what? I mean, the self is already there. What am I realizing? Or how am I realizing? Even if I realize, what difference does it make? And these are the questions I think we should be asking ourselves. Correct? What am I realizing? Really? So, knowing the self. So, what is this self? Self, always we think, okay, suppose, for example, if you go to Ramana Maharshi's ashram, they keep asking this question: who am I? Because he used to ask this question. If somebody says, I am having a headache, Ramana Maharshi would say, who is having the headache? Is it you or your body or your head? Right? So the deeper philosophical thought is that you are not your body, you are not this body, you are something else. When I say I am, it does not represent the body. That's what the Vedantic studies tend to understand, tend to think. I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am not this consciousness, something deeper, the real me. But in a true sense, the body is the identification of that inner consciousness, my body. So the consciousness identifies the self with the body. So if I know my body, I know the self, that identification of the body. We all know it. How I look like, we identify, we know the pain. If I get a headache, I do get a headache. It's not saying my head is getting a headache. I am getting a headache. Because we identify with the body. So that means we realized the body identification. That happens from our birth almost. Then we recognize, we identify ourselves with the thoughts. Why am I meditating? Because I want to calm my mind, because we don't like our thoughts. Suppose if we are enjoying our thoughts, nobody will look for meditation. Correct? So now we are identifying the thoughts which makes us happy, the thoughts which makes us sad. We are identifying ourselves with the thoughts. So we are identifying with our mind. Till that point, we know our identification. Beyond that, so that means we have realized our mind. If I can feel my thoughts, I have realized my mind. Right? But it is still not in my control, in spite of realizing my mind. Even the body, we think it is in our control, it is still not. It has to, subject to its old age and perish at some point. Right? So then, the deeper we go through meditation, through the transmission we receive in our system, slowly we recognize that inner consciousness. And we tend to identify with that inner consciousness. As we identify ourselves with that inner consciousness, then we will say, we have realized the consciousness, the inner consciousness. You might call it the self. But still, consciousness is at a manifested level only. Like you asked last time, the Sankhya. So the philosophy of the Sankhya is this only. This Purusha means the life here in this
Material world.
case. Huh?
The material world, right?
No, Purusha is the life itself. Life
Okay.
is a combination of the nature and the prana. The nature manifests into a body. It manifested into this body. Correct? So then, but the Purusha, the real essence which caused this manifestation is not happy with it. It
Wait,
wants
stop there. Why did Purusha want to create the world?
nobody wants to create anything. It's a
But
phenomena.
that first show that happened, why did that happen?
That's what I'm saying. It's a phenomena. There is no, see, that's why the cause and effect. See, when we are talking about why did it happen, we are searching for a cause. Correct?
Mm.
But the cause did not exist at that point. That's why you cannot say why. It happened. That's all you can say. In the Bible also speaks in a similar terms. God said, "Let there be air." He did not think why he is creating the air or water or anything. So it's a phenomena. It's kind of saying indirectly it is a phenomena. There was no plan behind it. Right? Babaji explained in his own words in a way that there was certain concentration, there was certain thing came into existence, a vibration, a stir, and that stir caused the entire creation. Correct? So like this is explained in many from many perspectives. Correct? But underlying idea is there was no cause at that point. The causation kind of began later. So my body is degrading as I age is because there was a causation. Right? The cells have to die. And certain loss of things are happening, protein loss, memory loss, whatever. As we age, a lot of things go wrong. Correct? So there is some causation. Even for my thoughts, when they come, there is a causation for a thought. There is an underlying effect. Cause and effect go hand in hand from that point on. So whatever we are talking is the later aspect, cause and effect. Right? So there is a microcosm and there is a macrocosm. At a bigger scale, this phenomena. At a microcosm, we meditating and realizing this inner conscious state. As we realize this inner conscious state, the essence somehow, because the consciousness has this ability to understand its own creator, that essence. Here, creation is a wrong word. There was no creation. It was only manifestation. Okay? So in this manifestation, from where it manifested, it will again recognize that inner essence. Once that inner essence is recognized, now that is omniscient. See, for example, if there is an air in the balloon, there is an air outside the balloon. What is the difference? Absolutely, there is no difference. The same air we have blown into the balloon and the air outside. Correct? Once the balloon pops, that barrier is removed. So the air mixes into the air. For air it was no different. For the air within the balloon, for the air outside the balloon, there is no difference. For the air, there is no difference. For the balloon, that layer makes a difference. That is why we call it this jiva, the life, as an embodied soul. That embodied soul is a mixture of the Purusha, the essence, what we call the soul, and the nature, the Prakriti. It's a mixture of that. So this mixture, by having its consciousness, It wants to experience. Without this mixture, both of them are eternal. But when they come together, it wants to experience because of the activity in the nature. There is an activity in the nature. There is no activity in the soul. When they come together, it creates that idea of experience. So because of this idea of experience, it is manifesting. So everything which is happening in our life is our own manifestation. Nothing is accidental. But now, we all being the same part of the nature and the life source, it's a collectively we are manifesting our world. Collectively we are creating situations. So here, as much as we think of as an individuals, there is this collective consciousness is at play, influencing all our lives. So once I escape and connect with that real essence, I am basically escaping the effects of all this collective consciousness which is forcing upon our nature. That is the first, I would say, I should not say benefit, that is the first thing which happens when we start connecting with this essence. That's why it is called, we are in the realm of the all this world is an appearance, is a reflection. So it's why it's called illusion. Once we come out of this illusion, then we have much more regulation on our life compared to what it is today. But we have to make it happen, right? So to make it happen, we have to identify ourselves with that essence, which is, even though it is there already with us, but we have not identified with it. So slowly, through practice of meditation, cleaning, especially with the aid of transmission, we slowly identifying ourselves with that inner essence. Once we identify ourselves with this inner essence, all our projections drop. When our projections drop, our life situations also drop in many ways. Still, there is some collective consciousness at play, but most of it drops. So then we can, in some way, regulate our, I should say, our own manifestation which we are creating in our lives. But yet the body has to go through its own process. Everything else has to go through its own process. But our realization with the essence remains constant. So it makes a hell of a lot of difference in our lives. So that identification is nothing but realization. Realization doesn't change anything drastically. Just because I have realized the inner essence doesn't change anything in my life. But what it changes is my projections. My recognizing this life as one. So I become more of a universal entity rather than an individual entity. So then all my prayers, everything is for the bigger good, right? Right now, how much ever I say I am praying for everyone, that everyone is also a very selfish idea. But from this selfish to when I become selfless, the whole aspect of life changes. So I'm not transactional anymore. Because then that essence is synonymous to love. In love, there is no transaction. Today, there is affection, there is no love. In affection, in affinity, in attachment, it's always transactional. Okay.
Shrikant, I was at a Hope gathering, and one of the Abhyasis asked, she's a mother, and she says, I don't want ever, have you all thought about liberation? Liberation means you're nothing. You can't have, I'm a mother. I have my children. I'm very close to my husband, my family, and I cannot be liberated and be nothing. What do you all think about this?
That is the biggest misunderstanding. We have created ourselves. Liberation versus a non-liberated soul and a liberated soul. The fundamental difference is the liberated soul cherishes life to its fullest extent. A non-liberated soul is very anxious to experience, but it cannot fully experience. See, one of my colleague, a long time ago, I'm telling you, when we were young, he knows I'm meditating, and he was about to get married. He says, "Oh, I don't want to lose my enjoyment by doing meditation because I'm going to get married." So I told him this. If you order a large pizza, I could gulp in those days extra large pizza without even thinking that. Then after extra large pizza, I was going to order another medium pizza. so, so I told him, so I have to give that example from my own life, right? So you order the pizza, you sit in front of the TV, you take the first bite and the second bite, and you don't even know when you gulp the pizza. But for a meditator, every bite is as if it is the first bite. Even for a liberated soul, it is like that. So who enjoyed the pizza the most? You only enjoyed the pizza two bites at the most. After that, you don't know when you finish the pizza. But imagine every bite is like the first bite. Who enjoyed the most? So a liberated soul must cherish this life much, experience this life, because it's a higher experience. Otherwise, all animals are experiencing what the humans are experiencing. What is the difference? They also eat, sleep, mate. It's all the same. But there is a difference in human experience versus a lower life experience, animal life experience. So from here, when you go to the much higher conscious state, your experience also must refine, right? It should bring more joy than what it is today. So we kind of given this impression that the more enlightened you are, the more detached you are. But that is not true. That's the biggest misunderstanding which it has created. And, that's why a lot of people don't want to even attempt this spirituality because they don't want to lose their happiness in their life. But it's the other way around.
So the pizza is not a great example. How would the mother with her children and
Same
husband?
thing. She will cherish the child more than the other mothers. See, the other mothers, I'll tell you, 80% is the frustration they show on their children. Okay. Their life frustrations are shown on their children. A meditating mother can only share the cherishment and love and happiness. I mean, which mother you think would take care more? So it's the same thing. And what I'm trying to see with the pizza example is you cherish everything you do more.
And that's liberation?
Including motherhood, you will cherish more than the regular mother. Your life you will cherish, your relationships you will cherish, and you'll have more understanding.
So when does one become liberated? When does one become liberated?
The moment you want to cherish your life. The moment you want to let go all your frustrations. So to me, non-attachment is that letting go all your things which are causing you pain and suffering is liberation. Liberation is a very simple thing. Somehow we think moksha is the ultimate state, but moksha, Babaji said, it is only first rung in the ladder.
And even that we can't get. So I'm like, I need to
We can't get because we don't want it. See, the only thing we cannot have liberation because, one, we don't know, two, we don't want it. Because we are caught up with this experience rather than cherishing. Everything has to be stimulating. But in cherishing, there is no stimulation. Cherishing is pure joy. Happiness, there is a
I think
lot of
the word
stimulation.
I think the word attachment, she says, I am attached, you know.
Your
And to be
attachment,
detached from her kids was not acceptable.
correct,
And
but
I understand that.
yeah, but it's not about detachment from the kids. It is, your detachment is when you are cherishing what you have. In cherishment, you are not, there is no expectation, there is no transaction. When there is no transaction, it is detachment. But I can still, even with the guru, if I have transaction, you have an attachment. When you lose the transaction with the guru, you really cherish the guru. You really take the guidance from the guru. Otherwise, you're only asking from the guru. Same thing you're asking from the children. You're asking from all your relations, all your acquaintances. You're only asking. Expectations. You know, oh, my child is not behaving, my dog is not behaving, my husband is not behaving, or my wife is not behaving, whatever the case may be, right? For a guy, it's a wife, for a girl, it's a husband. So all these things, we are always, there is a transactional life we are living. Once we come out of the transaction, there is more love, more caring than what it is today. You care for every life as if it's your own. Today, that caring is not there. That's why there is no harmony. It's always everybody is wanting something. Correct? So that's why coming out of this transactional life is liberation. And that is the first beginning state.
And realization and liberation?
Liberation follows. Realization is followed by liberation. Without liberation, there is no realization. That's why it's the first rank.
You mean without realization, there's no liberation?
Yeah. No. Without liberation, there is no realization. Liberation is the first step, right? Unless we take the first step, how can you have the second step? So that's why it's so important that we somehow come out of this idea that I have to live this life. Identify with this essence, identify with the true inner nature. Once we identify with that inner nature, we become universal. The moment we become universal, all transactions drop. When all transactions drop, I kind of take my first step towards that higher realm, which is liberation. So I have to make that effort. Once the liberation stage happens, then the rest of the process becomes very natural from that state. Because a lot of baggage is already dropped. So when the baggage is dropped, you can walk free. Baggage drop doesn't mean non-attachment. Baggage drop means transaction is dropped. Then I have all the freedom to interact with anyone or anything, even with myself. Then my thoughts won't bother me. I'm not looking for peace anymore. Because peace loses its idea. Peace loses its significance. Calmness loses its significance. So then you can think of life very differently. Right? Otherwise, we are worried about our health, how to keep. I'm very health conscious, this conscious, that conscious, all those things will drop. I'll only do what is needed as needed. As my body permits, as my mind permits, everything becomes very natural. Then everything speaks to you. This is, Babaji says it speaks to you. He uses, the North Indian slang. It speaks to you. Everything speaks to you. So that's the what we are trying and attempting here, right? So that's realization. Realization is nothing but the identification. So now I identify with my body, I realized my body. I identify with my thoughts, I realized my thoughts. I identified with my consciousness, I have realized my consciousness. I've identified with my soul, then that is the realization of the soul. I've identified with the higher essence, which is universal, then I have become that. It's like that. So realization is a very natural and simple process. So now what changed when I identify with my body? I'll try to take care, provide for my body. Correct? So when I realize my thoughts, I want them to be very harmonious and congenial. When I realize my consciousness, I'm looking for something which consciousness is. When I realize my soul, it becomes eternal. It's the same thing. Right? Okay. So let's get into meditation now.